Hello.
Hello.
Hello,
How
I'm
we
Carrie.
doing?
Oh,
Oh, I'm Maxie.
oh, great. This is Mutable Immutables. We are doing this backwards. You always say that part.
We are doing it backwards. Interesting. You know what? The vibes they're a little fun today. Yeah. This is Mutable Immutables, the show where we quibble queerly.
And exchange pleasantries.
Yes. How we doing, Caroline?
Peachy Keen Jelly Bean, how are you?
I'm pretty good. I just accidentally stole a rack from Amazon.
Yeah,
Um,
I was gonna ask about that.
love that for me.
Maybe
Yeah,
don't admit to your crimes on air.
it was an accident that I didn't control. I don't know. It's all good now. So yeah, I'm good. The weather's great here in Seattle. It's beautiful. It's sunny. I went on a beautiful walk with my dog. The vibes are incredible today. I've done so much cleaning. I'm thriving.
I love that for you. I have been jet setting and I was out of town all last week for work, and I'll be out of town for a couple of days this week for not work. I'm feeling very busy.
Well, work. We love that.
Yes. Um okay, so we're going to talk about the war again, but the second one today.
The war? We're going to talk about the war?
Yeah. We're going to get to the 50s. We're going to get to the
Work.
50s and we're going to wrap this shit up because we've already talked about like Medicine and then on. So, yeah, let's do it.
Beautiful.
Any opening remarks?
I learned today, thanks to Instagram, that soldiers were like actively doing and performing drag. Not just in the U.S. but in other countries as well.
Mhm.
Like during World War One and World War Two, they were doing drag to entertain each other. Apparently,
Mhm. That is
that's cute and
true,
fun.
and we will talk about that. And yeah, that's been an interesting little viral factoid recently, but yes. Okay, so um as per usual, don't have this organized in the best way, more a collection of fun facts. So, let's think. Okay, so World War One, we talked about last week, or whenever the fuck we last talked.
Hmm.
World War One, they didn't have blue discharges yet. Instead, you were just arrested. um, so there were plenty of soldiers who were arrested on suspicious activity of homosexuality during the war and were imprisoned until like 1922. Um, this later changed on it during the Second World War. They changed the quote unquote charge from a crime. So you're not being charged with sodomy. Now, if you're exhibiting homosexual behavior, you're charged with mental illness. So we have
Hmm.
the field of like psychology and psychiatry to thank for a lot of uh, changes like that. There was
I also
specific.
love that because it's not classified as a mental illness anymore, but like every queer person I know does have some form of mental illness.
Oh my god. Um,
It's just funny.
so there was one instance in Rhode Island, which in Newport, Rhode Island, there was a pretty large naval base, and um, as you know, sailors are notoriously gay, so we'll talk about that too. So, Newport, Rhode Island naval base, there was this like solicitation sting set up, uh, orchestrated by the government, where they took like 14 or 15 soldiers and we're gonna send them like undercover to try to get people to come on to them. And so this was under FDR, and so these were the people who were like arrested and were like actually jailed, and it was like a dishonorable discharge and everything. Um, but then World War II comes around, and they're like pushing. So with World War One, it was like we were not directly involved. We were like fighting on behalf of England and France. And so what the government really had to get people on board with is, since there was 5 million immigrants at this time, and it was like, okay, people like Russian Jewish people don't want to fight on behalf of Russia. The Irish don't want to fight on the behalf of the British. None of us are particularly fond of the French. So we had that's when they were like making people denounce their German heritage, like you were an American.
Right.
But by the time World War
Nationalism.
II came around, all we were like directly involved because there was a bombing of Pearl Harbor. Um, and so people were like more emotionally connected to it. We were also in World War II for longer and deployed more troops. Um, so the government had to get people on board, get those like Midwestern moms on board who were like, I don't want to, I'm not sending my kid to New York. Are you kidding me? The ports, like, I'm not sending my kid into drugs and prostitution and like all of this stuff. And like,
Right.
we needed a lot more troops. So like, they needed them to get on board. And so, they were like, uh, interested in doing like city cleanups. And so there have been these like anti-vice squads, of course, this whole time. And specifically in the city, and they're mostly, at least they started focusing on female prostitution. But then World War II happened, and now there's like sailors just flaunting happily arm in arm with their BF, and they're like, "Oh my god, we got rid of all the female prostitutes, and the soldiers were just so horny they couldn't help it, and so they had to fuck men. It's all our fault."
Wait, so you're saying they were like fully, openly, like out for a stroll, like gay together?
Yes, there are like uh what do you call it? Not records, like, but I guess records of people saying that they would just like see sailors just like openly out there because like they were a sailor, like the
Oh,
like
yeah.
ideal like hyper masculine thing. Um Sailors, sometimes known as sea queens.
Ooh,
Um
I
you
love
have
that
sea
actually.
queens on merchant vessels mostly, and like cruise ships as like waiters and entertainments. So this is like same as we talked about when like at Broadway shows they would have a fairy be like the MC, and that was like part of the
Right.
show. Um so also there is a tradition in like dating back to like 1600s UK pirates, like off the shore of the UK. Um Metelatage. It's a platonic form of mutual insurance that was not always platonic. So it was like pirates basically would like get, or like prisoners or sailors would get into these like marriages, quote, and it was supposed to be like we'll protect each other, and like we'll look out for each other. It's mutual insurance. But again, it was not always necessarily platonic, and it caused these like super close bonds between men. So put a pin in that. We'll come back to that.
And you said this kind of originated from, or not originated, but you said this was seen in World War I and then became kind of a standard in World War II to have this sort of buddy system thing going on, right?
Oh no, no, no. Okay, so no, the metelatage. This goes back to like the 1600s. This is like a thing on ships, like
Oh,
seaman culture.
oh,
Um,
interesting.
yeah, but you think about it, like especially like in a naval situation, not just like a merchant ship, you are isolated yet in completely close quarters with people, and add
Hmm.
into the like nationalism and patriotism of like we're fighting a war together, we have to protect each other. So now the US military famously has a battle buddy system where you're like paired up with somebody and you are like their buddy, and it's like a suicide prevention thing, and apparently has
Hmm.
worked. But like some say that this goes back to World War II, and you would have like your buddy, and back when you're in literal trenches together, you can imagine the type of emotional bond that you would share with your buddy. So there's
Oh,
both
yeah.
that, And then there's
Shared trauma. Yeah.
yeah, that too. And then there's also like the like ship marriages basically that happened. Um so anyway, so we're trying to draft all these like white non-immigrant people in the Midwest. Um and so they're trying to like clean up the port cities, Newport, Rhode Island, and like New York City, so that all of these moms will be okay with sending their um, sons out to where they've been hearing there's all this debauchery in New York City. Like, how can I send my son out there? But then, of course, you these sons are like at the sexual prime of their life, and especially if they have like homosexual leanings, they're probably pretty excited. And the same goes for women. It's so the draft obviously didn't go for women, so the women signing up for like the wax and all that sort of thing are like mostly voluntary, and so it's like women who are interested in doing like quote masculine work and like working in shipyards and all that stuff. So it tended to um what do you call it, appeal to like gender nonconforming um women as well.
Work.
So obviously, okay, so World War II buddy system. So you also have, like you said, these drag shows to boost morale on the ships, and these were like state sanctioned, and they were given like it was called like the blueprints, the blueprint map or something, where
Yeah,
they
there were
would
like
even have like,
instructions.
yeah, it would have like dress patterns and stuff, and they wouldn't let enlisted women be in the show. Like originally the point of the shows was like, okay, we don't have women, so like these men are going to play women in like a Shakespearean way, and it was like regarded as like beautiful because there was no quote like same-sex undertones. It was only female impersonation for the sake of acting. It was just for
Hmm.
the acting. um and
Just for the
they wouldn't
drama.
let I know, and they wouldn't let the enlisted women do it because they were like, we're trying to get people to take women in the military seriously, and I don't think this would go over well. But a
That
lot of the
also
women,
sounds like drag today.
well, um, so the women would like teach the men how to do makeup and that sort of thing. Um, so during wartime, things at home tend to be a lot less strict because um, they have bigger things to deal with than petty theft and that sort of thing. But in between the wars, there's like a real crackdown. Um, and of course, so after we get out of World War I, we are like doing great financially because, and this is the same thing after
Hmm.
World War II. Like America's biggest strength is our geographical isolation because like Europe is fucking destroyed, and the United States, we just come back and we're selling them the shit to build the cities back up. So we're doing great. And then obviously, um, uh, 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 the Roaring Twenties happens, and we've talked about all that sort of thing. And the
Hmm.
saloons were huge, and all that sort of thing. So I know what I learned about saloons is, so something that I still think might have underpinnings today is that at some point there was this law, I think in maybe like the 1910s, there was this law passed where like saloons couldn't serve alcohol on Sunday, but if you were at like a hotel restaurant or something, they could serve drinks on Sunday, which kind of reminds me, at least in North Carolina, liquor stores are closed on Sundays, but you can serve alcohol Sunday mornings under the brunch law, where if
I
it's like
think
a
also, I think
yeah,
in some parts of the South too, grocery store, like a lot of the South has liquor stores that are like separate from grocery stores, whereas other parts of the country you can get it out at the grocery store. But I think in other areas in the South too, um, wine and beer sales are like not allowed on Sundays until after a certain time, usually like 12
afternoon.
or 1.
Well, exactly afternoon, and that was true when I worked at hotels. We were not allowed to sell like canned beer until
Got
the
to make time for
afternoons.
God.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, also put a pin in like federally owned liquor stores because that kind of has to do with it too. So, Roaring Twenties, um, money is great. Stock market crashes in 1929. Oh my god, I should know it. October, Black Monday, whatever you call it. Um, and so immediately there's this mayor elected in 1933 that like outlaws drag and like obviously we're still in prohibition right now, and but just like all the blame is going on like the immigrant communities and the like gays, obviously anybody involved in sex work, basically like anybody
Mm-hmm.
low class, and that just like feeds this fear of um urban centers that are just like filled with degenerates compared to midwest or suburban um homes, which of course later turns into white flight into the suburbs. Um, Also, oh my god, interesting fact, might not be a fact, but apparently, so this the Anti-Saloon League was like a temperance movement, anti-drinking thing.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently they used like anti-German sentiment to push for prohibition. They would be like, we don't want to be like those German beer brewers, do we? And it was like anti-German sentiment in like 1918. So,
God, the consistency the US has of blaming literally everyone else that they can except for the people in charge
oh my god,
whenever
so funny
things
that
go
you
bad.
say this because this is my next line. Ready? In between the wars, instead of common sense, like, oh, we put a bunch of young men like in close quarters together. Um, in between the wars, they blamed the spike on like visible homosexuality, on the lack of female prostitutes, and I shit you not, France. They were like, well, what did you think was going to happen when we not only shipped our boys out together, we sent them to Europe? So they were like, they went
I
to
mean,
Berlin and they went to Berlin and Paris and all these like places that were way
famously gay
gayer than New
cities.
York at the time. Yeah, so like they specifically blamed France.
Also, not like not like the fucking government literally made them have husbands for the
I
entirety
know.
of the war. And it's like that meme of Eric Andre, whoever the fuck with the gun. It's like, why would you do this?
Oh yeah.
You know, when it's like
Oh
fully
my
their
god.
own fault.
Um, that reminds me, I never finished my thought about the saloons. So, what the saloons would do to get around the brunch law thing is that they would rent like 10 hotel rooms at a time, and one of the hotel rooms would
Hmm.
be the saloon, and the rest they would rent out to quote couples who had nowhere else to go, aka gay couples. So,
So they were like subsidizing the hotel as like a sinful little mini motel. I love that for them.
yeah, like the saloon like transitioned into a hotel. Like now there
Work.
was a hotel part. Um,
You better get that sin, bitch.
Right. But so because of the spike in homos, most or like all of the Bowery Ferry resorts closed. So like we talked about, the slide on Bleecker Street was like a huge one where just like everybody knew you could go cruise over that way and everything.
Hmm.
So like all of the Bowery closed, but then in the 1930s they built two freaking huge YMCA's. And if you remember in the like mid 1800s, the YMCA's were built for like low income workers to like
Hmm.
live and then also congregate. So they built two huge
And who is
YMCA's. The
that except
West,
for the tenement boys?
exactly. So the West Side Y, which is 63rd Street and Central Park West, which was apparently like the hootie snootier one, and the Sloan House on West 34th and Ninth Avenue. Um, okay. Anyway, so World War II. Um, Everybody comes back super gay. They while they're over there, there's like obviously there's always a secret language. So like traditionally on ships, it's Polari.
Hmm.
And then back in New York, you would have your oh, do you know of a gay bar, which just meant like, do you know of a fun bar, but like it's like saying a good time girl, like do you know a good time girl, like you know what they're actually referring to.
Right. Double
And
speak.
then yeah, and then also in the military they would create this entire like lexicon based on Dorothy Parker, which I think that's where Friend of Dorothy might come from, Friend of Dorothy Parker. But also, they would circulate this like tabloid thing, not tabloid, like a newsletter, I guess. Max, I shit you not, the name of it is the Myrtle Beach Bitch.
Ah!
um,
I'm obsessed with that. Wait, so is this like their own little queer little zine?
yeah, exactly.
Queer people and their
So
fucking newsletters. I swear to God, it's just
I
a
know. So we've
Substack
got this
now.
gay ass little blog, basically. Um,
Yeah, literally.
we've got the drag shows and these enlisted women teaching them makeup. We also have like the wax attracting like gay and gender nonconforming women to the point where this woman named Phyllis Avery um, was featured in a wax ad with her lover, and the wax didn't know that they were lovers, but like they were, and then they were just
Wait,
like,
can you explain this wax situation?
oh,
What is that?
it's the women's auxiliary or women's army auxiliary corps, and so it's like
Okay.
women doing work in the army, but not necessarily like in the trenches. And then later
So it's
there
like
was
medics and support.
yeah, and then later there was the WAC, which is like just the women's army corps. Um, yeah, sorry, that's
Okay,
what they're
but
advertising. They were like, join the army, but like little did the army know that they were advertising to women who were like in a relationship. Um, so for a lot of people, it was like a coming out experience. So either they were like, they had already known they were gay, and like to get past the draft, they were being like vague or lying because you would get questioned about like any moral ambiguity. So you would like lie or
mm-hmm.
be vague if you wanted to serve so that um, you wouldn't get charged with being a psychopath. So either you're like that and you're gay, or you're in the military and then around all this gayness, you discover you're gay. But anyway, you come back and now everybody's like, oh my God, I fucking knew it. The war caused everybody to be gay, which is like not true. You just congregated the entire country's worth of 18 to 40-year-olds with a common goal and specifically told them to like
Yeah,
partner
no,
up and
it
form
didn't.
meanable relationships.
It just kind of, yeah. It,
Um,
it gave. Honestly, was that like a queer safe space? I'm not gonna call it a safe space, but
no,
like,
honestly, the European theater was a safe space for the gays, to be quite honest. Like, I'm kidding, and obviously, like, you would still
God,
be like persecuted and like violence
for sure, for sure,
perpetrated
for
against you,
sure.
and blue discharges, which became a thing in World War II, where it's like you were no longer arrested for being gay, but this also covered like any moral discrepancy. They were like, it was basically saying it's not a dishonorable discharge, but this person has some kind of moral issue that's making them not to fit to serve. So you could use it against gay people, against women, against black people. Like you could use it against whoever. So blue discharge is not honorable, it's not dishonorable, but obviously if you have like a blue slip or whatever they called it, like they're gonna figure it out.
Sounds like some sounds like some major Title IX stuff.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Although that didn't come till later.
Yeah, way later, but I know what you mean. Um, so yeah, this pretty much just like ramps up. So not only do we have these people who believe that like the cities are the root of moral degeneracy, and we're like we have to get rid of the saloons, and like we have to create the Seamen's Church Institute for sailors so that all the sailors have one place to congregate, as if like the gays are coming from outside the group of sailors. like um
Right, as if the
and
call was
so
coming from outside the house.
exactly. And so the war ends in like 45, I think, and the Cold War starts in like 47 or 48. So it's pretty much immediately into it. And we get the second Red Scare. And so now everybody's terrified of communist influence. And they're like, okay, now more than ever, like the war is done. Our economy is great again. Like we need to like protect democracy and capitalism about against all these evil socialists and communists of the world. By the way, the United States Communist Party was at like peak membership in the 30s. So, and like around the
Oh,
turn
I'm
of the
sure.
century, like not fascism, oh my God. um, like anarchy was, anarchy and like, um, socialism, sorry, oh my God, were huge, in working class communities. So they're
Well,
like,
we're
we
in the
need to,
throes of a fucking depression. Like, we're seeing the same thing now. When you're in the throes of a depression, these socialist ideas and like public social welfare becomes really attractive to a lot of people. And they're like, actually, capitalism is kind of fucked.
yeah. Um, so it basically begins this campaign to like preserve the nuclear family, and they're
Hmm.
like anyone out, even if you're just a single man, like being a single man is bad, you need to find a wife, like because there were so many singles moving to cities that like it just got intertwined with like the bad reputations of each other.
Hmm.
um and thus we get McCarthyism, who I guess he didn't come around until like the earlyish 50s. But he was this guy from like West Virginia or something who was basically like, the communists have infiltrated the government. Everybody who's gay like needs to be fired. And so in ah shit, I don't remember what year it is. I want to say like I want to say like 55 or 57. But that's when they like outlawed gays from federal employment. So of course that's another like 5,000 to 6,000 people who lose their jobs, and it's kind of like obvious why they lost their jobs. And so this leads up to the creation of the Mattachine Society, and kinds of brings us full circle to the first time we talked about like leading up to Stonewall. So um,
Yeah.
that's it. I think that's it. That's it. Any questions?
Hmm. No, it's just, and I think I've mentioned this before, but like the parallels from that kind of socio-political economic environment to this one, like obviously we're not currently in a war of that magnitude. Like, we're involved in some different wars and conflicts, and arguably the Cold War is still going on, but it's just, yeah, the parallels there. And it always in those times it's some sort of moral panic, and the victim of the outlash or backlash, whatever the fuck, the everyone starts to
Outrage or
attack the
backlash? Yeah.
minorities. And what, yes,
Yeah.
one of those, yeah. um and it's just like you turn on the gays, you turn on black people, you turn on immigrants, you turn on all of these people except the ones who have caused the problems. And I don't know, it's just interesting, these patterns that we see. History's a
Yeah.
circle.
Yeah, there's certainly some facts that I have probably chosen to point out, specifically because of that. Um, because history doesn't always repeat itself, but it does rhyme.
Mm,
Um, so
I like
yeah.
that, yeah.
Um, I don't really have anything else to say. I feel like I have. I feel like that covered it.
Work well then. So moving forward, are we going to
I
hit
don't
the
know.
like 60s and the hippie movement and the first wave of feminism and all of that, or is this like turning into a history podcast? So
I know. Um, yeah, we could do that, or we could do a different city, because I feel like post. I almost said post 9/11, post World War II, and like the 1950s is a good like segment point of like before the need for a gay rights movement and after the need for the gay rights movement. So
fair.
I don't know. We'll decide later.
Maybe we'll do one of those situations where it's like a little interlude and we talk about a bad movie or maybe a good movie or
Oh
something. Who knows?
my
Who
god!
knows? Stay
Speaking of
tuned.
things we should talk about, can we talk about the All Stars 8 cast?
Oh my god. Yeah, okay, so let's actually get back to our roots and talk about Drag Race for a little bit.
I
Um
know.
First of all, huge congratulation to the the season 15 winner that we were all surprised
Oh my
by.
god, yeah, that
Spoiler alert! Spoil
yeah.
if you haven't already seen it. This is your warning. Sasha Colby.
Of course. There was
Yeah, we all
literally
knew.
never any doubt. Um
No.
so yeah, I forgot that has also happened since we last met. So yeah, congrats to her.
And did you
Um
know? So she's the second trans winner of Drag Race, but she also used to be roommates with Sonique, the first winner.
I did know that. Also, Willow Pill and Jinx Monsoon are fully trans, and you just fully erased them.
Fair. Okay, fair. Yeah. No. It's because I had seen a tweet that literally just said that same thing, like about Sasha and Sonique. But yeah.
I
No,
guess I
I mean
think Kylie might have been
several.
the first one crowned while she was openly out as a trans. Although maybe Trinity the Tuck, I don't know. It's not important. It doesn't
Yeah, and I
matter.
think
Well, maybe it
also
does.
I mean this was just a tweet and we know that tweets are fucked up because like so many people that have been on that show are some sort of trans or non-binary or something. Like I mean, we remember season 14. Come on. You know.
What's the superhero guy with the glove and the rings?
Oh, the Thanos.
Thank
Yeah,
you, Thanos.
Tranos.
Tranos. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hilarious. Oh my god, yes. So All Stars 8 cast, let me read it out. Alexis Michelle, Darian Lake,
Woo!
our hometown hero, Heidi in Closet,
I'ma worry about Heidi. Ugh.
James Banfield,
Work.
Jessica Wilde,
Throwback.
Jimbo,
Jimbo.
Kahana Montrese, uh, Candy Muse, Lala
Candy.
Ree, Monica Beverly Hills, Mrs. Kasha Davis, and Naisha Lopez. I think that is an amazing cast.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I've seen a couple people like on Twitter and just socials, um, either complain about it or reference complaints about it because apparently people think that it's kind of like an underwhelming cast. I guess because it came right after All Star 7 with all the winners, but like even then, like that's a
I just feel
pretty
like
solid fucking cast. You get some
I
older
feel like
queens,
for a
like some
couple
throwback.
years we were just getting like a season and then All Stars would come out and it would just be people from the season before the season who had just aired and it was just like that for a couple years. And so I feel
Hmm.
like we're finally getting queens that we like have not heard from in a while. If you had
No,
to
it's great.
choose, who do you think would win this season? And I do have an answer that I think.
Who do I think would win, or who am I gonna
Who do you
pull
think would
for?
win?
Realistically, um, I'm not super up to date and familiar with a lot of them. Um, Candy did make it really far. Um, I think I don't know. I think Candy and Darian will probably be in the final. And like I said, I'm gonna worry about Heidi. That's my girl. I would love to see her take it all the way, but I don't know who's actually. I don't know yet.
My answer is
What
Candy
about you?
Muse. I really think
Yeah.
it is hers to win. Just like the difference, but she has become such a fan favorite since her season.
Hmm.
Not that like fan favoritism has anything to do with All Stars. I know. I just really think she could take it, but I also agree with you that Darian like would be up there.
Well, so yeah, that's the thing. I mean, like, I could see a couple different options, but I think if you look at it from a production standpoint, and if you look at it in terms of storyline, Candy had kind of a villain edit going on in season 13, and she was getting a lot of hate from the fans. And then in the interim time, a lot of people have come around on her because they started to change their minds towards the end of season 13, and then she became this huge fan favorite. And now, like, everyone loves her, everyone is gassing her up. I think in terms of storyline, she's the perfect opportunity for a redemption arc to take it from
Yeah.
villain who almost made it all the way to the very top. And I think the same thing could happen for Diabetes as well.
Yeah, true. Yeah, no, I think she has a good chance of winning, but also Jimbo. I don't know. We'll see.
Mm,
Um
I'm I'm a little bit confused by that too because Jimbo was like on Canada season 1, and then like a couple years later did UK versus the world, and is now for some reason on what I thought was the American version of All Stars, but I guess we're opening those doors now. Question, because I thought the versus the world was the like international All Stars. I don't really
All
know.
Stars, All Stars 7 had the Vivian.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. It was also a different structure though, because the winners. So I was like
Yeah.
kind of buying it. I was like, sure. What I'm interested in, aside from getting to watch my girl Heidi again, and some of these throwbacks, James Mansfield, who was
Oh
a
my
first
god,
out on her season, but like she has a pretty big footprint in the drag world, and I think
she's
has one of
incredible.
the most
Yeah.
successful wig companies,
Yes.
like owned by a
Yes.
drag queen out
No,
there.
she is super successful. I love her. I'm so excited to see her back. Also, do you remember at DragCon I took 1 million years to choose a pack? They were like, you get 3 pins for $1, and I like chose my 2 pins, and I couldn't decide on
Oh
the third
yeah.
one. But I finally decided on the James Mansfield pin, so now I have a pin for her. How exciting!
No, I'm very excited about this. I'm specifically paying attention to the James Mansfield arc as well because I feel like something very similar could happen for my girl Irene because
Yeah.
she like the fans did not get to see really anything of what she's like capable of. Like she did not get a great edit. They also only showed her making like these rude comments and not as much like her sincerity and like her
Yeah.
actual sense of
But
humor. And she's an incredible performer, so I'd love to see her come back at some point too. And if this
but
James
I do
Mansfield
see
thing goes well, we'll
Yeah,
see.
I do see a lot of people that agree with that sentiment. They're like, Irene's an amazing drag queen, and we did not get to see a lot of her drag, and that's what I've heard on like I think they said it on like Sibling Rivalry and Race Chaser and all
Hmm.
those shows. Like it's I
No, she's
literally
amazing.
just lost my train of thought,
For
but
those of you
yes, you
listening
know
who
what I
are
mean.
not familiar with Irene, or maybe if you just saw her on the show, go look at her Insta for a little bit of a taste of like the kind of shit that she's doing because it's incredible. And she's also
Yeah,
so nice.
yeah, she's a really good queen. So I agree with you that she would be a prime candidate for All Stars.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very much looking forward to this season though. I am a little bit kind of surprised though because it's starting early. Because last year, All Stars didn't start until after DragCon. They were like doing promotions for it at DragCon and
When
they
does
like
it
teased a
start?
little bit. It starts May 12th. Which I guess is like a week after DragCon. But I don't know. I
Yeah,
feel like that's maybe it's not earlier than past years. I don't know. Maybe that's right.
I
It
don't
just
know
feels
because
very
they
close to the end of season 15.
But no, yeah, well, they always announce it after like the regular season, but I don't know. I haven't paid attention to when it actually comes on. Oh no,
I don't know either. I do know that Paramount Plus is going to be getting my credit card information again for a couple months.
I know. Oh my god, I finally let my WoW Plus account expire. So sorry if you've been trying to use that, by the
Do you
way.
know?
Um,
I actually did know that. I had not I had used your subscription I think once or twice since you gave me the login for it, and then I never touched it until like a couple weeks ago.
yeah,
I had gone on and I was like, "Oh." So I
it
just
was
got
when
it
I went
myself.
through the
It's
whole.
fine.
I went through the whole like credit card fraud thing, and or yeah, I had to get a new card, and then I just like never did it.
Mm,
But so, so I got to resubscribe to Paramount Plus too, I guess.
yeah, at this point I'm just going to bounce around between them as needed cuz like it's all a
I
fucking
know.
shitstorm anyway, whatever.
Yeah. I'll pay $5, catch up on everything, let it run
Mhm.
out.
Yep, peace out for a little bit. Yeah. Work. Okay, well, what are you into this week
Um,
aside from the cast of
well,
All Stars 8?
yeah, that I haven't really been watching. I know I usually have a million movies. I can't find my telephone is what I'm looking for. Because I can never remember what I've watched. And I haven't watched that much lately. So, um, that's my answer. No. What am I into? Um uh, you go first. I have to think. I'm
I
sorry.
love, by the way, the dichotomy with whenever I ask you, you either have a fully prepared TED talk
I
or
know.
absolutely nothing.
Can't remember anything I've done in the last 2 weeks. Where the fuck is my phone? Okay, you go.
Okay, while Carolyn's going through it, I am into um I'm into a couple things. I haven't been watching as much TV lately, because I've been just like putting on music and stuff. But in terms of plants, I know that a couple times we've talked about like seeds and
Hmm.
stuff. I planted a bunch of herb seeds, and literally exactly a week after I planted them, two of them started to like I could see
Sprout?
that they started to sprout. That's my basil and my oregano. And then I noticed today the other three have also started to sprout. That's my rosemary, my sage, and my peppermint, which I'm super excited about because peppermint, even though it's like impossible to kill, it is apparently really difficult to like actually raise from a seed.
Huh.
And so I fully was not expecting anything to happen there at all.
Yeah.
And so seeing those little sprouts, that's super exciting. Um,
Nice.
what else? I finally got my little coat rack situation slash shoe bench for my apartment. I got
Nice.
these more fancy little lights on my bed,
Cute.
really just amplifying my whole space. Um, what else have I been into? I've kind of just been floating around and vibing and having a good time lately. So,
Yeah, that's how I feel. I was like very social the last 2 weeks out of necessity. I was like in my hometown for a week, so it was like I had to make my rounds and see everyone. Um, I did watch Nope. Did you ever watch that? It was a Jordan Peele movie.
oh no, mm-mm.
I did watch that, and I didn't really know anything about it. I sort of knew it was about aliens, but I really liked that. And then, of course, I can't watch a movie without immediately reading every Reddit thread that's ever been created about it. And so, what I do is, since it's mostly horror movies, there's a r/, horror Reddit page, and so I'll go to that page and then search the name of the movies and just read everything there is to say about it. So now I want to go back and like look for all the symbolism and whatnot. Um, and then I also watched the Boondock Saints for some reason, because it was on my list.
Hmm.
No real opinion. It's a very boy movie. And then I've been playing my video games a lot. So that's what I'm
I've also
into.
been playing my video games.
What are you playing?
So I had taken like a couple months, not on purpose, but an accidental couple month break from just kind of video games in general. And I'd left off on Pokemon Violet, even though I was like
Nice.
right up close to the end. And so I finally finished Pokemon Violet, and now getting back into that headset, I'm gonna be hitting my other games, um, which I need to finish. Legends Arceus. I need to finish the post game or the DLC for Pokemon Sword. Um, because I need to get geared up and prepared for the
What do you
DLCs
play
for
it on?
Violet.
Like, what do you play it? The Switch? Is it a
The
Switch?
Switch, yeah.
Nice.
Although I did just get this emulator, works perfectly fine, all free, not legal, but whatever. For my phone, to play some different Nintendo DS games. And so I got Pokemon Soul Silver for that one. So I'm gonna have that game running too, because that's like the best game they've ever made. So I'm very excited
Nice.
about that.
Love that for you. I have
Oh,
been. Oh, go ahead.
I one other thing that I'm into, um, I have been. It is outright stupid that the U.S. does not use the metric system. It's
Yes.
fucking dumb. And so
Fully
I
agree.
have been trying to teach myself different parts of the metric system.
Nice.
And so for the past week or so, I've started to learn Celsius and get that figured out. It
Mm,
is a little weird when I look at my phone and it says it's 9 degrees, but I'm like, oh, wait, okay, I think that's like
yeah.
49, maybe
So
50.
I
I
generally
made a
agree
little
with you.
guide.
On most units of measurements, I do agree that the metric system is superior, obviously.
Hmm.
The one thing I'm not sure about is I feel like Fahrenheit is a superior way to describe temperature because Fahrenheit is based off of how it feels to the human body. So, like, 100 degrees is like 100% hot. If it's 50 degrees out, I'm like 50% hot. Do you know
I
what I
agree
mean?
with the premise of that, but I think it does I think Fahrenheit's doing a little bit too much there because like I don't know. There are a lot of different little variable. Like what is the difference like feeling wise between 71 and 72? You know, whereas I feel like having smaller numbers with larger intervals is a bit easier to discern. And then also, I mean, freezing at 0, boiling at 100 as opposed to 32 and what is it, 206, you know? I don't know. And then of course
212.
212. Okay. Um see, useless.
I
I
was in
can
the
remember the
212.
Celsius one. But unfortunately, though, I don't like. I'm not a contractor. I don't do like building projects or anything like that. I don't really have a ton of use for, um, like the actual like linear measurements or whatever you'd classify those as, like meters,
Hmm.
centimeters, whatever. Um, and I'd love to get that locked in my brain, but oopsies. Oh
Nice.
well. And apparently, I did some googling about this. I was like, will the U.S. ever switch over? And Google's like, no, no one really cares
No.
to. They apparently tried to, and so now
Yeah.
we have this weird hybrid situation where sometimes things have both units printed on them,
Yeah, and
but
you
people
like
just don't care
sort
all
of
that much.
have to learn that there's like 2.54 centimeters in an inch, but like really it doesn't
Yeah,
matter
or
that
like
much.
what is it? 3 feet is like roughly a meter, and 2 kilometers ish is like close to a mile or something. I don't.
Yeah. I will say I use weight measurements when cooking. I don't know,
As you should.
grams. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
grams and stuff. That's metric, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Instead of
and
using
you'll get
like cups and
consistency that way.
tablespoons. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, cups and tablespoons, like what is that? You know, like if you a liter you can repeat and get every time, or grams, whatever, if you have a scale.
Yeah.
But
So
we just like to be
look at,
different. We're built
yeah, look
different.
at us. You can blame Europe. We can blame France for this.
But we're just blaming the
Um,
French for everything this week.
yeah. What are your little victories, if any?
Mm. Well, first, the most, I guess, relevant one. I am taking a me weekend currently. Normally, I
Nice.
keep my weekends pretty packed, um, with social activities, which is great, um, because my transition to living alone was rough at first, and so now being able to do
Yeah.
things consistently with other people and fill that social, non-work related need is has been really really
Yeah.
good. However, I haven't had as much time to myself except for like after work, and like that doesn't really count because that's kind of more just like you're recovering and getting ready for the next day. You're not really getting to
Yeah.
enjoy and relax and whatever. Um and so after talking with my therapist, I decided that I was going to start doing one weekend a month where I don't do my normal social activities, and I'm just going to give myself the opportunity to do nothing or be as productive as I want. And
Love
so
that.
yesterday I was in bed like literally all day. I barely did anything. It was beautiful. It was amazing. And then that like it kind of worried me when I went to bed because I was like, "Oh my god, I have so much shit to do. I got laundry, I got dishes, I got trash, I got recycling, I
Yeah.
got clothes, I got all this shit to do." Um and then this morning, I woke up feeling refreshed and energized, and I immediately started doing things and being productive. And I crossed so many things off my list. And then, of course, the weather being beautiful and me taking my dog on a walk, I'm just like, living. Very good. Um, that's one of my little victories. My other is, of
Nice.
course, the um, entryway rack that finally arrived for free, and my lights. Um, and yeah, I'm just about ready to move into the next phase of bettering my apartment and my existence. I have one more set of lights to get. Um, and then I will be moving on to new sheets. And then I will be moving on to some bathroom stuff. And then I'll be moving on to some clothes. It's great. I love having
Oh
a
my god.
little bit of extra money to play with. It's amazing. Um,
Love this for you.
I'm really good. And then my seeds, my seed sprouting.
Yes.
That's a victory.
Yes,
It's very
that's exciting.
exciting. Yeah. What
I
about you?
also I also have some seeds sprouting after Dot destroyed some of my last round, but some of my cilantros and my basils are sprouting. Um I did reserve a 4x4 garden plot in my apartment complex. So
Ooh,
after Mother's Day. I'm going to plant some things outside, and that's exciting. But my main little victory, which I guess is not really a victory, is I'm going to a music festival this weekend. I'm going to Merle Fest with my BFFs. So
nice. What is it? Just like a standard music festival, or is it like a specific genre? Or
it's country music. But I'm
oh,
finally going to
you
get to see Tanya Tucker, which we tried to go see her in like 2021 and she had to cancel because she was sick and then never rescheduled. So very excited to
oh,
see her. And then it's people like the Avett Brothers and like Donna the Buffalo.
oh,
So
I love the Avett Brothers. I got to
it'll be fun.
work one of their concerts one time in Michigan. I got to work a Reba concert too. Great
Nice. She
performances
will
all
not be
around.
there. Yeah.
Oh, well,
So that's my exciting thing.
cool. Great. Well, anything else? Anything fun to add? Anything on your mind? Anything you want to get off your chest? Let me not say that.
Do I want to?
What?
Oh my god, no, no, I'm good. I'm good. We finally made it to the war, and now we can decide what else to talk about. But yep, no, I have nothing
We
else to
did.
say to you.
Yep. Okay, cool. Well, thank you everyone very much for listening. For those of you that have, if you have enjoyed this content, feel free to follow us on social media, which will be active now-ish. Maybe we'll see. But follow, and then you can
Because
find out.
I've
You can find us on.
relinquished my control of it.
You know what? It's fine. I don't. We'll see what happens. Um, But to keep up with that, you can find us on Mutable Immutables, or sorry, you can find us on Insta at Mutable Immutables. You can find us on Twitter at Immutables Pod. You can find us on YouTube, also Immutable Immutables. You can find our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever else you get your podcasts. And if you've enjoyed listening to us talk about things, talk about the war, talk about gay things, you can rate us 5 stars. Give us a
Five
thumbs up. Leave us
stars,
a review or something. I don't
thumbs
know.
up. Leave a
Yeah.
review.
Work. Okay, well.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.